I'm Hamish Patterson and I'm conductor of Melbourne Youth Strings. I first got involved in MYM way back in 1990. I'd just come from country South Australia and I got into a dance course, but I still needed to keep my violin studies up. And so my parents found MYM, which was great for sort of keeping up ensemble playing. And I started in Margaret Sutherland Strings in 1990. I played for 2 years there. I then joined Victorians Youth Orchestra in 1992 for a year. And then joined MYO when I was 15 in 1993 and was there for 6 years. So finally ending MYM in 1998 as a student. MYM certainly did open my eyes, and it was a fantastic experience to have all that wonderful music there.
I'm Nathan Sherry. I was a student here for 13 years and a tutor for 10. So that's 23 years, or 24 years in total. That's a lot. I remember the first concert because I dropped my violin when I was quite little and held up proceedings for a little while. It was called the Junior Strings and it was conducted by Alex King at the time. It goes a long way back. One thing I do remember about the first concert was we had to wear MYM t-shirts. They had the old MYM logo and Alex wore his backwards, which I thought was cool because I was 5.
Bruce Wallen, chairman for too many years at Melbourne Youth Music.
What do you think people remember of you as conductor?
The singing wombat, probably. I was very vocal when I rehearsed and very physical. And you can imagine 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you know, I cracked funny jokes and I could do my block like anybody else. I don't think they could ever say that the Grange rehearsals were boring.
I'm Jane Constable and I've been with MYM from 1986 to 2010. So I did Saturdays for 22 years. In the last few years I handed the Saturdays over to younger members of staff, but for 22 years, yes, Saturday mornings I didn't sleep in. In the early days it was very much a family organisation in that it was smaller. And you did get to know students and families and parents on a very personal level. As the organisation has expanded and times change, cultures change, that closeness, I suppose, in the last few years wasn't there. And part of that has to do, I think, with the standard, which had increased over that 20-25 year period. That at the senior level, a lot of those players were almost at a semi-professional level. They're about to enter a professional career. And the dynamic in a community group is a little bit different when you've got people who are about to embark on a career. It sort of grew from the school community group to a more semi-professional at the senior level of playing, both in the choral, the band and the orchestra stream.
When I first started teaching, Mia-Alexandra Cameron was the inspector of music, and she invited me onto what was then called a committee, I think, a Saturday morning music school committee, and also on that committee was Bruce Wallen and some other people, and it ran what was then called the Secondary School Symphony Orchestra or something. No, it was even longer. The Saturday Morning Secondary School Symphony Orchestra or something that didn't fit across the top of a page. We decided we should come up with something a bit more pizzazzy than that. So we came up with Melbourne Youth Music Council, which sounded pretty posh then, and renamed the orchestra the Melbourne Youth Orchestra. I was the conductor, the first conductor. I was actually the conductor of the Secondary School Symphony Orchestra, which then of course became the Melbourne Youth Orchestra. So that's how I really got involved. I was sort of there at the beginning and was actively involved on the committee, I think, on the council, I beg your pardon, for about the first 5 or 6 years. Miss Cameron actually had the vision to actually set up an orchestra for students who are now learning instruments in government schools but had no place to play together, especially if they were more advanced.
Peter Bandy, conductor of Melbourne Youth Orchestra 1993 to 2007. They'd never seen me before, they didn't know who I was. I was this guy from Perth that had just come over and, so the summer school, I guess, was my audition for them. And on the strength of that, they asked me if I'd take MYO. And that began a 14-year association.
My name's Tim Kelly. I was a student at Melbourne Youth Music. I started off playing in Melbourne Youth Symphonic Band in 2003. I continued playing 2004, 2005. And then also in 2004 I started working part-time in the office. I was really good at stuffing envelopes and getting paper cuts, was one of my real skills. I also began working full-time for Melbourne Youth Music in 2007. I was in the office assisting Jan Constable with running the entire operation, which was really fun. And then in 2008 I was on the board. I was on the board until 2012. So I've been involved in a lot of different ways for a little while.
My name's Hannah. I was, originally managed the Melbourne Youth Orchestra and then started working in the office and was artistic administrator for 2 years, 2010 and 2011. There were just so many different things and I was really overwhelmed by everyone's kind of drive to do it, all the players, and that really wanted to play it and they really wanted it to work. So that was a really special kind of feeling. There's so much that can gain from it, I think, and I think that's obvious. You know, the standard, the performance opportunities, the people they get to work with, the tutors that come in, and I think the amount of time devoted as well, like it's a whole Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon. I mean, that's a good block of time to kind of work on their craft and skills, and it's regular as well, so you can benefit from that. And then, you know, the project-based stuff for MYO, that's a whole nother set of skills as well. That's, you know, simulating a professional rehearsal situation, and those skills are invaluable. And I just think, you know, the regular contact, it is like a family, and people, you know, really, I guess, thrive in that sort of situation. Yeah.
Every single one's memorable. I would say that very memorable was the Urban Exchange last year at the Recital Centre. That was a fantastic experience for all of us, and I had so much fun. I was dressed as a rapper in very interesting clothing, and for someone of my age it was quite fun.
Last night I went through all the Australian orchestras to find out just how many MYO alumni were in the professional orchestras in Australia, and I was staggered to find quite a few of them. My orchestra, my hometown orchestra in Perth, contains about 5 of players in MYO that were in MYO when I was there. Yeah, I like to know what they're doing, it's great.
I'm now also starting to play gigs in pits with students that I used to tutor back in 2003, which is a little bit scary. I've got a few friends that's still from those times, and they're all over the world now as well as still being in Melbourne. So yes, you always keep in touch with MYM people. There's real bonds that are forged there. It doesn't matter what they go on to do, as long as we have got them learning to love music like we do ourselves.
That old reminiscence of, oh yes, I remember him or her, or what are you doing now, finding out. It'd be interesting to see how many people have pursued music as a career, how many still keep music as a hobby, how many have walked away from it completely. And I'd also be very interested to see just how far back we can go. Will we go back to those alumni of the 70s? That'd be very interesting.
I think somehow solidifying all that down and getting everyone together and keeping in touch with what's going on is going to be fantastic, both for Melbourne Youth Music, the organisation, and for the alumni to understand what's going on now and to remember the good times that they had at Melbourne Youth Music.
Students that I saw as 15, 16, 17-year-olds are now bald-headed and a shape similar to myself, and you recognise the face and you think, you know, what have you done with your life? So it's interesting to find out what people have done.
I think it's always a good idea to keep up with elements of your past, and because former friends and even colleagues and associates will always have extra insights, extra ideas, and just good jokes and good stories to keep you, going through the later years of your life, and it's always good to keep in touch with people of your past.